Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Talk with Antonio. I am your host, Antonio. Man, this is crazy, people. Another senseless killing happened at the hands of this terrorist organization called ICE. This is getting all out of control, people. What is it with these people that are trying to just terrorize people, especially right now, what's going on in the state of Minnesota? What's their purpose with those people? Although, so you can even call them human beings because they're heartless pieces of garbage right now. And what I mean by that is this. Okay, look, this is what happened on January 24th, 2026. Alex Pretti, a 37-year-old American intensive care unit nurse for the United States Department of Veterans Affairs, was shot multiple times and killed by ICE agents in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The incident occurred amid widespread protests against Operation Metro Surge following the killing of Renee Good on January 7th by ICE, by ICE agent. It says here, this is how it all started. This is what it was, just filming those punk asses with his phone directing traffic. At one point, he stood between an agent and a woman who the agent pushed to the ground, putting his arm around the woman. He was then pepper sprayed and wrestled to the ground by several so-called federal agents, with around 6 surrounding when he was shot and killed. It said there's a bunch of videos. It shows an agent removing a gun before moving away from prey roughly 1 second before another agent fires at him. And it says report keeps saying gun before the first shot. It says here it's also been known that he was licensed to carry a handgun. All concluded he was holding a cell phone, not a gun. And it's funny right now, all these people, especially like the right-wing conservatives, Newsmax, they were pretending like he was like holding the cell phone, like he was pretending a gun. There was like a lot of these so-called reporters poking fun, saying that he got what he deserved, especially the people from Fox News, Newsmax. They were all mocking his death, and they were all saying he shouldn't have been carrying a gun. It goes against everything. And basically the same people who were bitching about don't take our guns away were saying that he shouldn't have been carrying a gun. Give me a fucking break, It says here that they shot him with at least 10 times within 5 seconds after he lay motionless. It's funny how now the state investigators were denied access to the shooting scene by the federal government. Of course, right now, the biggest pieces of shit, Trump administration, were defending the shooting, although its claims were contradicted by video evidence and witness testimony. It says here right now everyone is protesting against these so-called immigration forces right now. And it's funny how this Operation Metro Surge was to crack down quote-unquote illegal immigration right now. And it says here that they were trying to target it because of all immigration customs forces, and began Operation Metro Surge to target the Minneapolis-St. Paul metropolitan area, later expanded to all of Minnesota. It says here that these so-called federal agents made more than 3,000 arrests and drew widespread criticism because of how these warrantless arrests, aggressive clash with protesters. And it's funny that all these so-called pig agents, fat fucks, because the majority are all fat fucks right now. They're coming here. They're always aggressive, and they're all like pushing people. They're, you know what they are. You can see people protesting against them. And there's like a video if you look around YouTube or social media, and you can see how there's this one fucking pig walking behind this protester, and this fucker just pushes down and shoves her and starts provoking them. They haven't done anything to protesters. They haven't even gotten near them. This fucker was just shit stirring and just causing problems, and that's when all these federal agents start ganging up on all these people. And it says here that he was just Alex Pretti. He was just filming because how these fucking assholes were acting towards this. Especially, it's funny how this is what I've been noticing a lot on these people, with how these fucking so-called federal agents, because that's what they are, So-called, because I will say what I feel towards the end about these fucking assholes. And there's like other videos of how there was this one young lady, how she was trying to drive away, and then this fucker just like goes in and arrests her and tackles her down, basically like drags her and treats her like if she was like a piece of shit. You know, it's funny how these cowards who are just covering their faces because they know they're gonna get doxxed, you know. But you know what though? Sooner or later they're gonna get their identity get caught. Sooner or later, you know, because of, you know, hackers. You know, they're gonna find out where they live and all that stuff. And you know, it's funny. And there's one video how this agent tackles a woman. And you know, it's funny how they act all tough, especially against women, because you know women are not that powerful against men. You know, and it says here that with Alex Pretti, it says here that he grew up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. He was born in Park Ridge, northwestern suburb city, Chicago metropolitan area in Illinois, to a family of Northern Italian ancestry. He grew up in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and was a member of the Green Bay Boy Choir and a Boy Scout. It says here that he graduated from the public of Preble High School in 2006. He attended the College of Liberal Arts at the University of Minnesota, where he received a bachelor's degree with a major in biology, society, and environment in 2011. It says here that he was hired in 2014 as a research assistant in a clinical research program in the Minneapolis Veterans Affairs healthcare system. He had been a registered nurse in Minnesota since 2021. At the time of his death, he held an active nursing license in an intensive care unit at the United States Department of Veterans Affairs Hospital in Minneapolis. It says here that according to Chief Brian O'Hara, the Minneapolis Police Department, Pretti had a Minnesota state permit to carry a gun and had no criminal record. And you know, it's funny how it says that he was shot by multiple times by PIG agents near the intersection of 26th Street and Nicollet Avenue in the Whittier neighborhood of Minneapolis. It says here that witnesses say that ICE agents attempted to enter a donut shop moments before the shooting. A person they were pursuing entered the shop, after which the employees locked the doors. Pretti, who was across the street, was observing and attempting to direct traffic. The shooting happened less than 2 miles from his home and was the third shooting by federal immigration agents in Minneapolis in 3 weeks. It says here that according to this little midget, Greg Bovino, it says that they were attempting to detain an undocumented immigrant with a significant criminal history. That's what they all say, you know. After reviewing his own records and those of the state courts, the Minnesota Department of Corrections reported that the individual Bovino named had no criminal history. Typical. They all just invent. You're just making shit up on site just to act like the lawless punks that they are. He only had misdemeanor traffic offenses for more than a decade earlier. It says here that the man entered the donut local shop and the door was locked, denying the agent's entry. This reportedly caused the agent to call backup and become aggressive towards observers, including Pretti. Typical, you know. It says here that video showed Pretti recording agents alongside two civilians when two agents walked in the street to confront them. One agent pushed a civilian wearing an orange backpack 28 seconds before the first shot was fired. It says here that Pretti moved toward the sidewalk, attempting to help the other two pushed by the agents. Pretti stood between the agents and a woman being pushed, briefly putting his hand on the agent's waist, and was pepper sprayed by the agent. Pretti held his hands up with one hand holding his phone, the other held to protect himself from being maced. It says here that Pretti reached to wrap his hand around the fallen woman, apparently trying to help her up. An agent shoved Pretti, typical, and Pretti and the woman fell, still embracing. It says here that Pretti then tried to pull away and made no threatening movements towards the agents, who pulled him backwards and forced him to the ground. Pretti was then restrained by several agents and then pinned to his head. Fucking monsters that they are. And then they fucking shot him. And then the piece of shit who shot him said boo hoo hoo. Like that other piece of shit, Jonathan Moss, who shot Renee Good, called her a fucking bitch. And then it says that Border Patrol officers with a handgun and agent spray Mason before firing defensive shots, attempting to disarm him. There's a lot of videos. He wasn't even brandishing. He carried the weapon, but the gun was pointing at these fucking assholes. He had a cell phone. You know, there's a lot of videos, but yet somehow these motherfuckers get away with that, you know? And it says here that this fuckface Bovino said an officer who shot Pretti had been serving with the agency for 8 years and quote unquote had an extensive training as a range safety officer. Bovino reported that as of January 25th, all agents present at the scene of the shooting were still on the job, though they had been placed on administrative duty and relocated out of Minneapolis for the officer's safety. Bovino added that the involved will remain with Border Patrol agents. Typical. It doesn't fucking surprise me, you know. It says here that the report of Congress says that they reported the incident and it was based on preliminary review of body-worn camera footage on CBP documentation. According to the agents, the United States United States Border Patrol and officers, U.S. Customs Border Protection were in the area for immigration enforcement activities that were confronted by individuals blowing whistles and shouting at them. They get pissed off. And you know, it's funny how these motherfuckers get mad when a lot of people warn that those fucking cockroaches are approaching. You know, like right here in my home state of California, a few days ago here in I think it was Panorama State. Actually, it's actually Arleta at the supermarket. ICE was in the supermarket, arresting people, tackling down. Also here in Burbank, they're all over, and also I read online on Reddit that here in at the North Hollywood metro station, they're checking people. They're everywhere right now. They're like scattered like fucking cockroaches that they are. They're everywhere right now, and it's fucking scary right now. People right now, and yesterday on January 30th. There was a protest of not shopping, not doing anything in order to stand with solidarity with the people. A lot of restaurants, even like small businesses, were shut down because in protest against these fucking Nazi motherfuckers. Because that's what they are. They're Nazis. They're not trained accordingly. And you know, it's funny that ICE right now think that they can do whatever the fuck they want because Trump tells them to do, because you know right now they're untouchable at the moment. They are fucking untouchable. They're acting like lawless pieces of garbage that they are, because that's what they are. ICE, I don't give a fuck if they get offended. If you're listening, motherfuckers, you fucking assholes are nothing more than human, living, breathing, walking garbage. Because that's what the fuck you are, ICE. You are nothing but fucking human, living, breathing, walking garbage. Because that's what you fucking are. And you know, it's funny how you fuckers shot down a civilian just because you don't like how you're being filmed. And right now, I've seen other videos. There was this one young lady on TikTok who was filming these motherfuckers, and then they break the windows and they start saying just because they were filming them, they were inside the car, and they try to open the door. ICE cannot open the fucking door, but they're doing whatever the fuck they want. They're acting lawless, and they're doing whatever the fuck they want. They're killing innocent people. It's not just Renee Good or Alex Pretti. There's others that I've seen right now it's really fucking infuriating. And especially right now with this little kid, his 5-year-old kid who was used as bait to bring out the fathers, and he's in detention in ICE being held in an ICE detention center in Texas. He's sick and he's calling his mom, and yet they don't allow the mother to go visit the kid, you know? How heartless these motherfuckers can be. All what ICE are, if you can see, like, the majority are all white supremacists, and also these coconut self-hating Latinos who are arresting their own fucking race. I'm not being racist, because I'm not, but the majority of these, and even Trump boasted on when he was talking to the press that the majority are all Hispanics talking like, and he was like, you could tell he was salivating about that, you know. But it's I will say towards the end of what ISIS really is, but it says here that they were trying to rent aid towards this poor fellow, and he was declared dead at 9:32 a.m. when he was transported to a local hospital. And you can see right here that after the shooting, after 100 people assembled at the side of the protest, onlookers called federal agents cowards and told them to go home. One officer, who shot him, says "boo-hoo," and it says here that it was reported everywhere. And like right now, what's going on in Minnesota is just fucked up. Protests are being held in Seattle, Washington, Portland, Oregon, Durham, North Carolina, Oak Park, Illinois, near Chicago, downtown Los Angeles, and Boston. And it says, the investigation, they're not going to do anything about that. The Trump administration says that Pretti had a firearm that was recovered at the scene. And the Minnesota officials stated that he had a permit to carry a firearm. But it's funny how the DHS Secretary Tricia McLaughlin said that carrying a gun meant that Pretti wanted to massacre law enforcement. This fucking twat is just fucking shit stirring. She was just carrying. He had a permit, but this bitch right now, she's fucking shit stirring. It says here that numerous news organizations noted that multiple specific claims made by Trump administration officials about the killing are contradicted by the video footage recorded by bystanders. While ICE officers are not required to wear body cameras, DHS indicated that body camera footage from at least four different angles of the incident existed and are under review. But it says here that they're not going to do anything. It says that DHS will report to be in possession of Pretti's cell phone after initially being collected at the scene by the FBI. It's funny that on January 26th, this was by far, but you know what? They replaced shit with another bigger piece of shit. On January 26, 2026, it was reported that fucking little midget Greg Bovino was stripped of his title as quote-unquote commander at large of the U.S. Border Patrol. His access to social media accounts has been suspended, and he was suspected to return to the Border Patrol station in Central California before briefly retiring. It says that Tricia McLaughlin, a.k.a. Cunface, issued a statement that emphasizing that Bovino had not been relieved of his duties and would continue to play a central role in nationwide immigration activities. Simultaneously, the White House announced that the border czar, another fat piece of shit, Tom Homan, would be taking over immigration enforcement activities in Minneapolis and would report directly to fuckface Trump. It says here that the administration that would be investigating, but we all know that the Trump administration is going to do whatever they can to protect the agent who killed this poor fellow. And it's funny that all the people from the Trump administration are nothing more than pieces of shit. That bird-legged hoe, plastic Barbie, Kristi Noem, immediately called him a domestic terrorist. That right there, people, is the most infuriating thing I have ever heard in my life. So, according to Plastic Barbie, she believes that anyone that protests against these fucking Gestapo cowards are all domestic terrorists. The guy was filming how these motherfuckers were acting towards other human beings. And that she fucking calls him a fucking domestic terrorist? Are you fucking kidding me? That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is the most infuriating thing you could ever do to another, you could ever say. That is like the most asinine thing you could say. If you want to talk about a terrorist, you should talk about Kyle Rittenhouse. That motherfucker right there was shooting you. He killed an innocent pig just for fun, and yet somehow he got off scot-free. But yet somehow the Trump administration did not label Kyle Rittenhouse a domestic terrorist. But yet they labeled Alex Pretti a domestic terrorist. When he didn't even, he had his gun, he had his weapon on his side, but he never used it. He was filming these motherfuckers, how they were acting, but yet somehow fucking Plastic Barbie called him a domestic terrorist. And you know, it's funny that they were the family of Alex Pretti says that they were heartbroken, but they were angry, and they were saying that the sickening lies told about our son by the administration are reprehensible and disgusting, and said, and I quote, Alex is clearly not holding a gun when attacked by Trump's murdering and cowardly ICE thugs. They urged people to push back against government claims about Pretti, saying, please get the truth out of our son. Also, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz said that he spoke to officials in the Trump administration after the shooting. On social media, he called the shooting sickening, said President Trump must end this operation, and it added, Minnesota has had it. He also said Minnesotans are creating a log of evidence to prosecute federal agents. Governor Walz activated the Minnesota National Guard to assist local police at the request of the Hennepin County's Sheriff's Office and the Minneapolis City government. Governor Walz also stated that federal officials closing the crime scene, sweeping away the evidence, defying a court order, not allowing anyone to look at it, represented an inflection point in the United States of America. Senators Amy Klobuchar and Tina Smith condemned ICE continued presence following the shooting, accusing the White House of a cover-up. Oh, yeah. And also, Ilhan Omar, the U.S. representative for the district, includes all of Minneapolis, and Minnesota State Senator Omar Fateh described the shooting as an execution. And yeah, it wasn't a goddamn execution. And it says here that Ilhan Omar went to town hall where she called ICE to be abolished and for Kristi Noem to resign or to be impeached. You know what's funny? Plastic Barbie is not going to do that. She's too fucking proud because, you know, she's protected by Trump. Even though right now she said that she was acting under orders of fuckface Stephen Miller and the bigger fuckface Trump. But they're saying that this twat threw Stephen Miller under the bus and vice versa. It says here that Chris Mandel, a Republican lawyer who had previously represented Jonathan Ross, the ICE agent, another fuckface who shot and killed Renee Good, announced his withdrawal from the 2026 Minnesota gubernatorial race, citing Pretti's killing. Mandel stated that he could not support the Republican Party what he called retribution, and blamed national Republicans for making it nearly impossible for a Republican to win a statewide election in Minnesota. And very recently, there were some special elections in Minnesota, and the Democrats swept the elections right here. And I don't know, all the stuff that I'm seeing right now in the United States of America, Trump really wants to make an example out of the states and the cities that didn't, as I said before, that did not vote for him. And right now, very recently, Fulton County, the FBI raided the offices of where they voted for the election for 2020 in Fulton County. The FBI raided there to take back the documents and all that stuff, because Trump really wants to control the election, because he wants to put what is it called, enact martial law to stop the elections, because he doesn't want the elections to happen in the midterm, because he knows that the Democrats are going to fucking sweep the midterm elections come November of this year. And it says here that Trump was non-committal on whether the shooting was justified, stating that the administration was, quote, reviewing everything and will come out with a determination that bringing a loaded firearm to firearms doesn't play good. And it says here that Trump stated the 27th of January, you can't walk in with guns, you just can't. He also, on the following day, he told reporters that he did not believe Pretti had intended to assassinate anyone. So what the fuck are you saying? You're flip-flopping. You're saying one thing, and then you say another thing Are you like, do you even listen to yourself, Trump? You say one thing and then you say another thing, the other. Are you kidding me, old man? I don't even know, like, and you, like, right now, you did that raid at Fulton County and that because you're still fucking bitching and complaining about the 2020 election. It was rigged. Dude, you won the 2024 election. Why are you still bitching and complaining that you lost that 2020? You saying it was rigged? Dude, are you like, do you even listen to yourself, Trump? You fucking lost. Get over it. Okay, you won in 2024. You won in 2016 and you won 2024. What more do you want, man? You're still bitching and complaining. You go to the to do like these meetings around the world and you're talking about the 2020 election was rigged. Nobody fucking cares about it. The rest of the world doesn't fucking care about that. You're the only one that's still bitching and moaning, like you're saying this over and over and over, and then you start spreading conspiracy theories to Ilhan Omar. Like, dude, you are not good at all. You're not good at all, dude. You know, it's funny that the NRA responded to oh shit. And you know, like right now, the protests right now are just like they are everywhere right now. So right now, there was a video here that was caught on video, and like, you know, like look at these motherfuckers. They know that they're caught. Like right now, it says ICE out. They were throwing bricks to everybody at the cars of ICE. It's just, they're everywhere right now. They're just cockroaches. And you know, it's funny that there's a video here, and also what's his name, President Bill Clinton said this, and I quote: "We've watched horrible scenes play out in Minneapolis that I thought would take place in America. The people in charge have lied to us, told us not to believe what we've seen with our own eyes," unquote. And this is directly from President Bill Clinton. It's funny how this administration wants to cover up everything, you know? And it says here that one fellow says, Qasim Rashid wrote this: "Much love to Alex Pretti and Renee Good, but remember, ICE has killed 9 people in 2026. You know the 2 names of the white people they've killed. ICE has also killed a black man named Keith Porter, a Cambodian named Parada Law, and 5 Latinos named Eber Sanchez Dominguez, Victor Manuel Diaz, Luis Beltran, Yanez Cruz, Luis Gustavo Núñez Cáceres, and Gerardo Lunas Campos. ICE is on a pace to kill more than 100 people this year. Abolish ICE, impeach Noah, prosecute those who have committed these crimes." But you know, dude, you know, people, it's just, I don't know, like how long this is gonna keep going. But you know, like, other Republican senators call for representative transparent investigation include Pete Ricketts, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, Ted Cruz, John Husted, Dave McCormick, Jerry Moore, Mike Crapo, and Todd Young. Republican Senator John Curtis called for a Senate investigation, said that Kristi Noem's response undetermined public trust and law enforcement mission. While not referring to Pretti or Renee Good killings, Senate Homeland Security Committee Rand Paul sent letters to the agency executives of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Customs and Border Protection, and Citizenship and Immigration Services to request their testimony before the committee next month. Paul subsequently called for an independent investigation of Pretti's killing. It says here that James Comer suggested that ICE should maybe go to another city. Then this is another fucking Trump crony. All these motherfuckers, they just want to stir up shit, you know. And it says here that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez contrasted conservative condemnation Pretti's concealed carrying with their previous defense of Kyle Rittenhouse, as I said before, who shot and killed 2 unarmed protesters in Wisconsin in 2020. And you know, the NRA, the biggest hypocrites of all time, responded, and they wrote something on Twitter. I'm going to read this, and that's fucking infuriating, ladies and gentlemen. It says here, let me see if I can find it right here. I saved it. Give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Give me 1 second. I'm just finding it because I thought I had it, you know. It's just like this stuff right now that's going on. It's just sad. It's fucking sad, and I don't know. It just really like, but yet we can't do anything because these motherfuckers are untouchable. You know. Give me 1 second. Oh my goodness. You know, it's funny how none of this are the people from the Trump administration. They're just coddling, you know, like that. This agent who killed this poor fellow was moved to another place, and all these people who are quote unquote still with ICE, they just got it in there. They're getting away scot free, and that right there is not right. That is not right at all. And they're just acting like, I don't know. It's just fucking uncalled for. You know, it's funny that right now here in the state of California, specifically here in Southern California, the biggest gang in the world, the chief of the LAPD, says that they're not going to force the law because, you know, like, Governor Newsom posted a law that if ICE agents wear masks, that they're not supposed to be doing that, but they're not going to enforce that. They're not going to enforce like they can still be covered and hide like the fucking cowards that they are. And you know, ICE right now it's out of control right now. And like it says here that the NRA, I think I found it, ladies and gentlemen. It says here that the Trump regime openly turned on the Second Amendment following the murder of Alex Pretti, a lawful gun owner shot dead by ICE agents. The NRA has reported disabled comments on Instagram choosing not to criticize Trump after Americans said can't have guns, even though Pretti was legally carrying under Minnesota law where he died. Yet the Trump regime officials suggest he should have had a gun, contradicting decades of gun rights rhetoric and alienating core supporters. You know, it's funny, the NRA, and especially these right-wing nuts, were always saying, oh, the Democrats are going to take away our guns. You can't take away our guns. They're always, especially like the NRA, they're always fucking jacking off with the guns. And yet when somehow, they were always all for the Second Amendment, but yet when a liberal or a left-wing has a gun, the Second Amendment doesn't apply to them at all. It only applies to these right-wing fucking nuts. You know? So right now, in conclusion, what's going to happen right now? All I can say is, ladies and gentlemen, is that right now something needs to be done. November is, I know it's just months away, but something needs to be done as soon as possible against these so-called ICE agents. And you know, it's funny that, as I said before, and I don't apologize for what I said, the majority of these white supremacists, these Latino self-hating motherfuckers, there's other minorities there, but I will say that these people who are quote-unquote ICE agents now are all rejects or assholes who couldn't hack it in the army or in the police force. So now they go into ICE because ICE right now is hiring any fucking shithead right now who wants to pretend to be a cop and act aggressively towards immigrants and take out their frustration on immigrants, because that's what they are. ICE agents are nothing more than rejects from the police and the army. I don't give a fuck if they get offended by that. So, what's next right now? All I can say is I just hope this ends very, very soon. Especially right now, what's going on with this administration? They're acting like they're all lawless. You know, my nephew said this once upon a time to me. Have you ever noticed that Trump, all he ever does, he has like this huge painting of President Andrew Jackson, and he always puts flowers in his grave. My nephew told me that Andrew Jackson was the most lawless president in the history of this country, just like Trump is. He did whatever the fuck he wanted, you know? And also, before I forget, former President Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama said, and I quote, it should be a wake-up call to every American, regardless of party, that many of our core values as a nation are increasingly under assault. Basically, right now, this country right now is under attack. As I said before, the United States of America right now is under attack and being controlled by people who have agendas that are fucking deep. Trump has an agenda. Stephen Miller has an agenda. Kristi Noem has an agenda. All these, Tom Holman has an agenda. Greg Bovino has an agenda. All these motherfuckers have agendas, and all these other Republican senators who are fucking who are bending over, taken in the ass by the Trump administration because they don't want to piss off anybody. And you know, it's funny how ICE really pisses me off of how people who are trying to legalize the correct way, but yet somehow they get kidnapped at court, they get snatched at the courthouses, but yet somehow, like here it is, what it says here. The NRA, it says here that they were the United States, were justifying the shooting. It says here that the Second Amendment protects Americans the rights to bear arms while protesting, a right that the federal government was not infringed upon. It says here that the Gun Owners Caucus of Minnesota objected Kristi Noem's comment implying that the carrying a firearm at a protest was unlawful. The president of the organization called Noem's view fundamentally wrong. It says here that Dudley Brown, the president of the National Association for Gun Rights, said Trump's comments were clearly mistaken and wrong. The Firearms Policy Coalition stated that recent events in Minnesota underscore a recurring and deeply troubling theme: government officials and commentators treating natural rights as privileges. Trump and his administration, much like the anti-carry states we must fight every day, must remember that government exists only by consent of the governed, and that our rights are not to be subordinated to their policy preference. As I said before, like, but people who are trying to, like, ICE are snatching people at courthouses, and yet somehow the fucking biggest twat of all time, Nicki Minaj, right now is cuddling up to Trump, sucking his cock probably, and she said it on her Twitter page or whatever, that she came here as an illegal immigrant and his husband or whatever is a registered sex offender, but yet somehow Trump gave her a gold card on her to basically give way for her to be a path to getting U.S. citizenship. The hypocrisy right there. If a person say, "Oh, I'm an illegal immigrant," ICE is going to come here and snatch them and deport them, but yet somehow, how come ICE doesn't go after Nicki Minaj? Huh? Why? Because this fucking fucking fuckface, cunt face, cuddling up to Trump, and she said it on her social media that she was an illegal immigrant, and yet somehow Trump gave her a gold card, basically giving her away to path to U.S. citizenship. And yet, but the people who are right wingers will say, "Oh, you should come the right way." Nobody comes in the right way. People who say that, okay, they just got lucky. But the majority of these people, even racist white people, their ancestors came here the illegal way. You know, they also came here as you know how racist white people like to say that people, immigrants of other countries are invaders. So are they, you know? And I'm sorry if I'm saying this, but I'm just repeating the words that they say. If racist white people call like the Latino, Hispanic descent invaders, so were they. Their ancestors, they came here and stole native land, you know? It's just not right, you know, what's going on right now here in this country. So let's see what happens. The only thing I can say is I just hope this nightmare ends. Is like right now what's going on in Minnesota. And also Trump said that he's not going to pull out of Minnesota. He's not going to do that at all. It doesn't surprise me coming from that old man. The only thing I can say is that I just hope somehow this is like a nightmare. Like the United States right now, under the leadership of Trump, the United States has terminal cancer. And it's sad because the United States it's a beautiful nation, but yet somehow, and also right now, this administration is arresting journalists right now. What happened with Don Lemon? But they just invented some fucking bogus charges to arrest just because he was filming and just documenting the protests at a church where ICE was doing all this fucking raids right there. But yet somehow they arrested Don Lemon. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is the perfect example of how this country right now is under an authoritarian regime, a fascist regime. And Trump says that Antifa is a terrorist organization. I think it's the other way around. Look at this little group of January 6th there. They are the biggest terrorists because they were protesting. They were trying not to certify the fair elections that happened in 2020. But yet somehow Trump pardoned all these motherfuckers and refused to call them terrorists. But yet somehow Antifa are a terrorist organization. And yet somehow he doesn't even call the KKK a terrorist organization. I wonder why. You know? But like I said, let's see what happens in the coming week, in the coming months or weeks or whatever. The only thing I can say is I just hope this nightmare ends in this country right now, especially with minorities right now. And before I before I log off for tonight, I want to say is fuck ICE. Fuck ICE and fuck all the people that support this, especially these MAGA bootlickers. Fuck y'all, punks.